Hi guys. Oh my goodness, it's so early and it's so chilly. My voice is still a bit stiff. How are you all doing? It's a new week and it's the end of Feb. Can you guys imagine that? So guys, we're actually at the end of Feb. We've made it to the end of Feb. Fearless Feb, as we dubbed it. We've come to the final week and we're still pushing on with plenty of success, fighting fear. We've refused for Feb to be a month that's governed by fear. So now that we've come to the last week, we want to conclude our theme for Feb, and we were sticking to the verse from the Bible that says we have not been given a spirit of fear. God has not given us a spirit of fear, which just goes to say, if you have fear, guess where it's coming from? Fear is from the enemy. Fear is from the devil, because fear is the opposite of faith. So as long as he can keep you in fear, fear causes doubt, and those are all the things that fight your faith. Yeah, so you have to resist it. We've been given the power of love and a sound mind. You see, when you're so plagued by doubts and panic and all of that stuff, very rarely are you able to think rationally. Usually when that is happening, fear makes you very irrational. You're always imagining what's the worst that can happen, and as a result, you many times actually wish it and pull it to yourself, the very thing that you're freaking out about, right? So not only is this fearless or fear-free February, it is also favor-filled. So place your hand on your head and say, I am mantled for favor. This month, favor will follow me, or it has followed me the rest of the year from here on. Favor is my portion. As Prophet Haggai told us, I am mantled for favor. You can put on favor like a garment. You dress up in it and you say, I have the favor of the Lord, and I'm going out towards my missions to face my day dressed in favor, adorned and covered in favor. And if favor is all over you, really, you cannot help but win. Disclaimer, it's pretty early morning. It's like about 7ish, and it's been raining here, so it's overcast and everything, and then my bulb is jumping up a bit. We're still working on this ring light thing. I will have it soon. But so if you see, there's some flickering going on today. I think the power has its problems. Yesterday they had gone out a bit, so just forgive all this lighting stuff. We're going to try and deal with the dullness in editing. Hopefully we'll be able to brighten it up a little bit. So we can put on favor as a garment, and you must believe that you are favored in order for you to use that favor as a weapon, as to put it on and for it to work for you. It's all working hand in hand with your faith. Yeah. So what I wanted to just give you guys in conclusion is just some few things that you can add on to the others of last week. First and foremost, feeling fear is nothing strange. It's a normal reaction. It's the way your body's warning you of danger, or it tells you slow down, be cautious, that kind of thing. But anxiety is also a type of fear. That's another thing. Anxiety is a type of fear. It tends to focus more on worrying about the future, worrying about what can happen, as opposed to this is now, I'm in this right this moment. This is what I have to deal with now. So one of the first things that you can do to conquer your fear is to face it. Number one, face your fear head on. It's actually I think, the hardest one, but you can't overcome what you don't face, right? So identify it. Knowing it, identifying it is like step number one, and that's like you've already done 3/4. Know what you fear, and one of the best things is to journal. Every time you feel that panic rising up in you, look at the situation. What's going on around me? What am I dreading? Is it like, for me, I get dry in the mouth and panic when I think of dentists, and that's why the other day you guys were seeing me having a lot of problem with my tooth, because I will hold on until the last minute, until there's really nothing I can do except maybe now be admitted, because I won't go when it's starting because of that fear. So by the time I'm going, it's become so damaged. Really, the only thing they can do is pluck it out, and there's probably not even enough left to pluck out, because it's probably been breaking in my mouth just because of the fear. You see, unnecessary stress and fear that just leads to more problems. So take note, journal. Is it worse in the morning, or is it in the evening? Is it when I go to a particular place? Is it when I sit in a vehicle? Do I have, what moments is it that the fear manifests more? Yeah, take note of that, and then refer to it often. Refer to your notes frequently, so that you can be able to realize, okay, I can feel it coming. There it is, this is the situation. Then you're able to arrest it and know, what do I do now that I can feel it coming? Step 2 is to use your imagination positively. I refer to the Bible again. Whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, think on these things. It's in Philippians 4. If God, who created us, is encouraging us to think on the positive, dwell more on what is positive, do you not think that he knows what he's saying? Don't you think that there is some reason for him to say that? It's because he knows that when you dwell on the negative, you pull yourself down, and sometimes you even create that negative thing that you're so fearful of, because you've thought it into reality. You've dwelt on it until it comes. On the other hand, on the flip side, you can make yourself sick about something that's never going to happen. You'll be here worrying and stressing and dreading what ifs that never materialize, and that what if has made you age 10 years because of the pressure and the stress of what ifing. So the imagination is very powerful. It allows you to create, and you can almost will things. Guys, I'm back on my usual side. So I was saying we need to use our imagination positively. The imagination is very powerful, so it allows you to create and bring into reality a lot of good stuff. But on the flip side, it can also be harmful. It can work against you if what you're magnifying and thinking about is always negative. So it can make you magnify your fears, to unbelievable proportions that are just really very unnecessary. So let's not use our imagination to magnify our fears, but rather think positive thoughts. Be very conscious of what makes you feel afraid, so that you're able to avoid such thoughts. When you're conscious about it, you'll notice that's the moment that thought came in. I can avoid it. Let me stop. Let me switch where my mind is going, right? Imagine things working out well. Like when you get up, think how you're going to have a wonderful morning, how you're going to get to work safely, how you're going to have this positive, beautiful day, and just literally will it into happening. And that way, when you're conscious and you're thinking positive thoughts, slowly by slowly, you'll start realizing, today it's evening and nothing actually went wrong. Tomorrow, like that. And then step 3 is meditate. meditate. For Christians, we meditate on the Bible, on the Word of God. Philippians 4 says, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are beautiful. I wish I came with my Bible. I actually should have had it here. I would have actually read it for you. But it says, that verse says, think on these things. What is meditating? Rotating certain words or a particular thing over and over and over in your mind. And this is what you should dwell on. Dwell on what is good, what is positive, what is lovely. Plus remember the other verse which we started with, of not being given a spirit of fear. So don't allow that fear and all its foreboding and all those dark thoughts to be dwelling in your head. No, meditate on what is positive. Meditate on what the Word of God says. That way you're on the safe track. Number 4, breathe. Doesn't have to be that dramatic, but breathe. Inhale, exhale slowly. Tell yourself, I can drive in this jam. Breathe and look at your situation realistically. You know, when you take a second look, things tend not to, the panic that had hit you when you looked at it the first time, you're able to rationalize. You know, it helps you to avoid that panic attack from hitting. You can stop it before it actually, hits home. You're able to control that fear and panic. I found that taking a walk does wonders for me. If I'm feeling stressed in any way, or even if it's that panic feeling, take a walk. Nature calms a lot of people, and it reduces your stress levels. And funnily enough, when you change the atmosphere, you see like you've changed the mood from maybe you were sitting at your desk or in the house, and whatever was, you're in the place where the stress is hitting you, where the panic is starting to come up and the fear. If you take a stroll and change your environment, your mind tends to do a small adjustment or a big one, and you realize your train of thought changed. You left where you were, and now you're feeling much calmer. Plus the physical activity of just doing the walk, the jog, makes your brain work in a different way, and it releases, like what exercise generally does for you when you work out. So that also helps you to remove your mind from that focus, just sitting in one place, hiding away from everyone and focusing on the fear. So remember to always breathe. So number 5 is talk about it. It sounds like a pretty obvious one, but sometimes it's hard to talk about your fears. Sometimes you're tempted to keep everything to yourself. You don't want the whole world knowing your business, but you can always find one person that you trust, that you can share your fears with, because sharing your fears takes away a lot of their scariness. If you find you can't talk to a partner or a friend or a family member, you can always get official counseling. There are helplines that that are there for this type of thing, and many hospitals have them. They have neutral guys who don't know you. If you don't want to discuss this with somebody who you feel is going to criticize you, you can go for those helplines and just get some help. Just talking to another human being. Those are trained counselors. They'll know how to calm you down. They know how to talk people down from all manner of things. So fear causes you to settle for less than what is God's best, because you want to act fast. Fear kind of makes you want to act fast, and in the process you just kind of settle for anything. You don't want to wait, because normally the good things that are in your path, that God has given you for your progress and your blessings, are things you have to wait for most of the time. So if you're struggling with something and you have fear about it, you rush and sabotage, it will cause you to disobey God's instructions. It dilutes your trust in Him, because when you trust in him, when you're trusting a person, you're able to wait, you can wait for whatever it is they promised you. So in God's case, if you're waiting on him and you're all panicked and everything, you tend to rush. You take a rash decision which you'll obviously regret, but at that point you're not able to really think about it. So it dilutes your trust in him, and it makes it very difficult for you to even stay strong. You're robbed of your peace, you have no joy. So rather than doing that, find a person you can talk to if or maybe all the others fail. Number 6, increase your faith. Increase your faith. Faith casts out fear. They can't be together in the same space, because if you have faith, you can't have fear. Faith is the opposite of fear. So you'll have either one. So if your fear is so strong, replace it with your faith. Build up your faith, increase your faith so that it comes and overtakes what is terrifying you. And in that line, I want to close out giving you some Bible verses on fear. The first one is Deuteronomy 31 verse 8. It says, "He will never leave you nor forsake you. Do not be afraid, do not be discouraged." Yeah, so it's really very self-explanatory, but when you're in a fearful situation, imagine that is God actually telling you that. Imagine that God is speaking to you and he's telling you, do not be afraid. If you think about it, if God himself is telling you not to fear, what will you fear? Imagine he's actually telling you. Don't imagine that you're just reading some random book. Imagine this is God speaking to you and actually telling you, don't be afraid, I will never leave you. Most of the time we don't think about it very literally, or we don't put it in a practical way. But if he's on your side and he'll never leave you, really, it doesn't matter who else leaves you. With God on your side, you're going to make it. You'll be fine. Nothing can really harm you, right? If you think about it literally. The second verse is Romans 8:28. It's a very popular one. "And we know that all things work together for our good, for those who love and trust, for those who love him and are called according to his purpose." So God has not only forgiven us for some crazy rash things we've done. We've all done crazy things that are wrong, and he has forgiven you. He forgives us for those unwise choices that we make. But now think about the fact that he is quick. So the second one is Romans 8:28. "And we know that all things work together for good to those who love him and who are called according to his purpose." Now think of that. Think about how quick God is to forgive us when we mess up. All things work together for good. So even if we don't mess up on purpose, but because we're humans, we're bound to err. We're humans, but God is so good. Just combat your fear by believing that he'll turn your situation around for good, regardless of where and how many times you've messed up. You see, simply because it is his joy to have you succeed. He loves you as your God and your Father. So no amount of blunders we make can hinder what God has planned for us. He's going to, as long as you're trying your best to do what is good, he's going to work it for your good. So nothing should really make you that afraid that you're getting crippled by fear, because you feel like you don't know what to do. There is a God that loves you, who has promised you in his word that he's going to work everything together. So just trust him, hand him over your failures, and believe in him. The next verse is Isaiah 43 verse 1. "Do not fear, for I have redeemed you. I have called you by my name. You are mine." So it's actually a command. It's actually a commandment from God for us not to fear or worry. Do not fear, for I have redeemed you. You see, he has already died for anything that you could do. So you are redeemed. The phrase fear not is actually used 80 times in the Bible, because fear is a big deal, and it's a very powerful weapon that is used by the devil. He knows that the devil uses fear to decrease our hope and limit our victories. You know, you can sabotage yourself. You can actually sabotage your success, what would have been a victory, because of fear and negativity and all of that stuff. So when we meditate on that truth, just that verse by itself makes it very hard to remain fearful even as you're going through the trials, because by focusing on him and how much he values us as his creation, your focus naturally shifts from fear to faith. And that is why the devil tries so hard to fill you with doubt, because he knows if you stay in the word, you don't give room to a lot of fear and doubt, and he is unable to plant seeds, you see. And that's why the Bible encourages us to keep our eyes on him, not on the problem. Don't keep focusing on what is wrong. Focus on the one who can change everything and turn everything around for our good. Isn't that a great point? Isn't that just, we can end it right there, you know. We could easily just end it there and would have given ourselves some, you know, some charge. So it's actually true that you turn into what you focus on, as I had said earlier. So as we gaze constantly at him, we are changed into the image of him. That is very spiritual and all of that. We're not getting into any literal, we're not doing theology here or anything of that sort. But think of a God that so loves you that he draws you, as you're focusing on him, he's just drawing you more and more into him and becoming like him. So whether what you're fearing is a health crisis, a financial crisis, maybe a family emergency has popped up, whatever it is, focus on the power of a God who has called you by name and commands you to flee fear with everything you have. Flee, run, take off from it into his arms. Very literally, yeah. 2 more verses. 1 John verse 18. 1 John 4 verse 18. Perfect love casts out all fear. It's one of the shortest verses, but it's very powerful. Perfect love casts out all fear. Actually, if you actually put a little bit of faith in God and think of his love, it will make you generally more fearful through life. It's actually, I think it's simpler than we actually realize. We complicate it because God himself is love. It's just perfect love, right? And the closer we come to him, the less power fear has over us. So just draw closer to him consciously, because as you feel his continual presence, you know, you feel his strength, you think of his might, his power, his comfort, you know, his guidance. As you dwell on his awesomeness, you realize how small and significant the things that make us afraid are, you know. So even when you're filled with the most crippling of fear, you just need to trust God with that childlike confidence, you know, the way you trust your earthly parents as a child. If you can put just a small amount of that into believing that God truly loves you, you can't see him, so it makes it a bit of, you know, that's where faith comes in. But if you can abide in that love, that is where the confidence comes from, to trust in even bigger things, to, you know, to hand them over to him. Because if you can do it on a daily, not one of just when there's a problem, that's when you're running in a panic and looking for, you know, always you can reach this God. No, make it a daily, even an hourly practice, you know, to just hand over things as they come, talk to him regularly, and it becomes less of just a biblical thing, you know, it's just something from the Bible, and it becomes more like part of you, becomes your life. The final scripture, Psalms 18 verse 2. The Lord is my rock my fortress and my deliverer. What can the enemy do to you? If you carry that in your heart as the truth that it is, speak these words over the cause of your fear of sickness. Tell that sickness, the Lord is my rock. Hey, you don't stand a chance in this body. God is our hiding place. It's like when you sit in your car over lunch hour, blast worship music. Refuse that fear, that thing that you're dreading. Just say no and say, I'm going to praise despite. In your house, put on your worship music. Regardless of the house hasn't been paid, you don't know what you guys are going to eat, there's fear of all sorts of financial issues, put on that praise music and just worship and tell that situation you're not greater than my God. And it works. It sounds very crazy, but try it. It works. Because God can only be a rock in your life if you let him. Remember, he doesn't come by force. You have to allow him. So unless you trust him to deliver you from every fear that you're having, he's not going to do it by force. So you need to hand it over to him. Say fear has no place in the heart and the mind of a believer. Ask God to increase your trust and your faith that he is willing and able to deliver you completely from that fear and anxiety. And as you ask him to reveal himself deeper, his love deeper, he will move powerfully and fear will soon become a thing of the past. It takes time, but we have to be aggressive and we have to do our part. And I'm going to end there for now. I hope this series on fear has enlightened you guys, has made you feel like you can be bold. You want to fight for your, So guys, I'm going to end it here. God bless all of you. Have a wonderful rest of February, what is left, rest of the year. And we're going to come in March with a new theme. Stay blessed. Stay sanitized.